I forgot to hit the record button. Come on, guy. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're going to get this straight. We're going to get it settled out. We're going to iron out all the little kinks, the details. We're going to get this machine running like so well oiled and greasy and whatever. I hope you guys had a great weekend. I had a great weekend. My daughter's sleepover went fantastic. Uh, her whole premise was she wants to be a chef or own a restaurant or something like that. She wants to do like a million different things. So that's one of the things that she's talking about now at her age. As she turns 12. Well, I can't tell if I know she's turning 12, but I feel like she's turning, I don't know, 16. It's all over the place, right? You know how kids are. They want to be older than what they really are and stuff. But it was a good time. She wanted to make Chipotle style dinner. And so burritos are burrito bowl, whatever. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna cook dinner for my friends now." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I ended up cooking it. My niece and even my ex-wife helped out a little bit and stuff, but I did majority of the cooking, which I was gonna do anyway, so it didn't bother me. I mean, like I said, I was in the Air Force for 12 years, and majority of that time I was cooking, so I literally know what to do, and I've done it for hundreds and thousands of people. So it's just muscle memory. It's nothing new for me. So I had no problem with it. But I really enjoyed the kids, the girls that came over and stuff. And man, kids are awesome, man. They're awesome. They're like, to me, kids are like the best of human beings. Like cause they have so much endless potential. And even though they can see things differently and they see stuff, but they don't really know too much. But at the same time, they do because they see it from their own genuine eyes, and they have so much raw potential and so much raw emotion. And they still obviously they need guidance. They're kids. They just lack the experience to really understand certain things. But then again, so do adults. So I mean, a lot of adults ain't really adults. They just older kids. That's exactly what it is. But the girls have fun and stuff. And I interact with them. Like, actually, I gotta stay on my game, man. These kids was attacking me. There's so many verbal jabs thrown at me and stuff. Like, oh man, I gotta stay sharp, man. I gotta stay on my game. They was getting ready. They was about to knock me down. They kept making fun of me about my organic food. It was like, oh, is this organic? Oh my God, this is organic too. Is everything in here organic? And they caught me eating like some regular candy and stuff. 'Cause I got candy and chips and stuff like that. So they caught me eating it. And it's like, oh, don't get, oh, you sitting there eating that? That's not organic. And then one of the girls was like, oh yeah, that's definitely organic. You're gonna have diarrhea later on tonight. I was like, damn, shit. Like I gotta stay on top of my game, man. These kids is coming at me, bro. I love it though, man. I love being around kids. It's funny because I don't like kids. I don't like kids, but I do at the same time. It's amazing. So I was watching the UFC fight, and then I'm just in the living room because it's my house. I'm not gonna go hide anywhere, and I like interacting with them. I like listening to them and talking to them and stuff, and just that they're entertaining. And obviously, I want to know the type of friends that my daughter have. Even though I sit and talk to them all the time as well on the phone too. When my daughter's on the phone, and then my two nieces are here, I talk to them. So I'm sitting in the living room and I'm watching the UFC fight, and they're just around me, just doing whatever. And then I let them ride around the little hoverboards that my kids have. They're riding around that in the living room and stuff, and everybody's taking turns. And then my ex-wife, she got on some board game stuff so that they can have fun and play with and stuff like that. As I'm watching UFC fight, and they're just sitting there right there with me. As they're playing the Xbox on my TV, and they're playing Fortnite and Rocket League and stuff like that. And, they're all gamers. They're all into sports and stuff too at the same time. Like I can see that pretty much all of them have, not necessarily the exact personality, but similar interests, and that's cool. And then as a kid, that's all it is for you. Like, hey, we like some of the same stuff, so we're cool. We're friends. I mean, it doesn't, obviously, there's deeper things and stuff like that as well, but it's a good time, man. It's simple. And I went to the bathroom. Apparently, that was a mistake. Came back. Oh, my TV's gone. It wasn't even like deliberate. Like they didn't even get on the TV and change channel or anything. They just kind of, I think I think it was on ESPN Plus, so I think the broadcast ended, and then it probably switched over to like ESPN or ESPN2 or something like that. And so I was on the app or whatever, and then I just kind of went to like the menu screen where it's showing all the different fighting or all the different sporting events. And next thing I know, I see them in the middle of the living room on the floor, sitting there playing Monopoly. And I was like, oh, I guess I've been kicked out of here, and they're just laughing at me like, "Yep, bye." I just took the time to clean up and stuff, and I just stayed around. I don't go hide out in my room and stuff. Like, nah, I want to know what's going on and stuff. But it was a great time. I believe the girls have fun. I hope they have fun. That's exactly what I said to one of them. Like, I hope y'all have fun. It seemed like it. They were chasing each other around with burritos and pillow fights and wherever else going on, and talking about their little school age things that they talk about and stuff like that. And it was a great time. So I'm happy my daughter enjoyed that. I don't know if I could do it with boys. I told my son, I was like, I don't know if I can do a sleepover with all boys, man. Boys is, oh man, they'll be fighting, but they're a little more aggressive and more physical and stuff. But my son, and all his friends, they just want to play video games with each other. So they obviously can't play video games the way they want to unless they're all at home on their own TV screens and stuff. It's Fortnite, Call of Duty, things like that. I mean, some games still have split screen, but at the same time, if he wanted to do it, I know I would let him do it too. Like, just same difference, take him outside, throw the football around, do whatever and stuff like that. And I'd take him to the park or something like that. Let him run around. But kids, man, kids, I'm sitting here thinking like, you know what? I don't have no social life. But at the same time, it's by design. Like I don't want a social life. Like I just don't want one. Like I have my friends that I could do things where, but like I just enjoy doing this. Sitting here baking cookies. They made fun of me too because of my organic cookies. I just ordered a new pack and stuff, and it was in the mail or whatever. I opened up, put it up. It's like, oh my god, are those cookies organic? And so yeah, and they were like, then they wanted to cook and bake and stuff. So I was like, yeah, go ahead and bake the cookies, or whatever. And then even in the morning, like they wanted to make the eggs and bacon and stuff like that. So they had fun or whatever. And I'm glad I can just kind of just be there, just to experience that and just see it firsthand and have fun with them and stuff. Yeah, it's a treat. And to me, that's man. I'm sitting there trying not to get emotional now. Like it's a real joy. It's one of the most joyous times in my life, just sitting, being around the kids and watching them how they interact with their friends, my son and my little brother and his friends stuff as they interact, and then when they're playing basketball and all this other stuff, just getting them to watch them. And I just love that. And it reminds me of my dad growing up. He used to always say, like, hey, I know which one of you. And so I always knew which one of you and your friends was going to be something and do something like it. I just sit and watch out. And I sit here and do the same thing. I sit and watch it. And I believe most parents, just sit back and watch their kids and stuff. I mean, I listen to them and their conversations and stuff like that. Obviously I respect their privacy as well, but just you check on them and every now and then and see what's going on. But I really do enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. So that's what I say. There's 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 positive in everything. Obviously, I talked about before as far as what happened in my military career and how it came to an end and my medical condition and stuff like that. But at the same time, I appreciate it. Yes, obviously, you don't want to be sick or have different things, but I appreciate it because, it allows me the opportunity to do this what I do now. I don't necessarily have to worry about my finances, and I can be around my kids more as outside of, not having to work 60, 70 hours a week that you do in the military, and, not having to take my kids to work and stuff like that or anything. I always told myself, man, if I have the chance to be around, I mean, I've been around and stuff. You know how it is as a parent. You got to work. You got to do the things you need to do to survive. But at the same time, it kind of takes away time from the kids. And I feel fortunate enough in the sense that I want to say my medical issues, where it's kind of sidelined me from that area, or in a sense where I have to, not have to, but I look to other means to have additional income and whatnot, but also gives me a chance to be home and be around and enjoy these events. As even though I complain, don't get me wrong. Now I'm still gonna complain about it. I'm still gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe I gotta do this. But it's a joyous complaint in a sense, if you want to put it that in that manner. And for those parents out there, and even if you're not a parent, I feel like you can kind of understand what I'm talking about as long as I explain it in a good, decent way. So yeah, I had a good weekend. I had a good weekend. So it was pretty awesome. Birthday season. My two kids' birthdays over with, and then one of my niece's birthdays too. But my other niece' birthday will be coming up soon too. So uh, do something with her and be involved in that. So yeah, it is what it is. You take the time to celebrate people whenever you can. Mine's a birthday, mine's a holiday. At least that's my own opinion and my own personal thoughts. To each their own. Do what the fuck you want to do. But yeah, these kids are awesome, man. And it's interesting enough to see because you want them all to turn out great. And I feel like every kid has the potential to be great. I don't care what a kid does. I don't care what they say. Every kid has the potential to be great. And I don't care if the kid is talking about I'm gonna shoot up the school. That same kid has the same potential to be great. That same kid has the same potential to be a good person in society amongst the human species. We all just got issues, man. There's times when I was in school, I used to always talk about blowing up the school. You can't say that shit now. Even then, I couldn't say it because after Columbine happened, it was like you can't make threats. I used to always talk about blowing up the school and stuff. If somebody would have reported me, they probably would have thought I was crazy. My parents, they probably would question my parents' parenting skills and stuff like that. But like, to each their own. Obviously, nobody ever reported me. Thank God. At the same time, but if they did, it is what it is. I would have had to deal with that at the time. I mean, I used to threaten to kill kids, man. Let's be honest. I'm being honest with you, like always. I used to threaten to kill kids. There's times where I choked kids. I put them in a sleeper hole. I physically put my hand around another kid's neck. Hey, man, I'm a small guy, but I got issues, man. You're not gonna come at me some type of way. You're not gonna say something I don't really like, bro. I try to control it, but I was like a ticking time bomb, man. I used to keep it in. So over time, I learned to not keep it in and kind of find ways to express myself. And even in sports, still, even on the basketball court, I'm a little aggressive, man. You come driving down the lane and start, hey, you might catch this elbow to your stomach. I'll just let you know, if you come down this lane driving, it's going to be a rough time for you. Just to let you know, hey, I'm small, but I'm still fucking here, guy. You're not finna punk me. And that's how I was raised. My dad's a small guy too, like, but that's how I was raised. Like, hey, you're not finna walk over me. I am a man. You understand that? I am a man. You're not finna walk over me. You're not finna punk me. I don't care who you are. You're not finna just, look down upon me. You're gonna respect me. You're not about to intimidate me. And I raised my son the same way to be a man. I raised my daughter the same way to be a woman. Stand up for yourself. Don't let nobody intimidate you. Don't let nobody punk you. Because, as far as you know, they're human just like you are. They bleed the same way you bleed. And hell, even if they don't, doesn't matter. Not gonna let nobody walk over you. So, of course, I probably took things too far as far as the verbal things that I would say as a kid. But kids are kids, man. Kids are kids. I don't want to fault kids. I don't want to fault kids for the behavior because they're learning. They're experiencing things. They're still trying to navigate. Hell, they're trying to. Hell, puberty is a shitty stage in life, man. You're all over the place. You noticing different things like, oh, look, there's hair on my nuts. Like, what's going on here, bro? Hey, oh my God, why is my voice getting deeper? Like, there's a whole bunch of things that go on and stuff. A little girl is like, oh my God, I'm getting boobs. What is going on here? Hey, I gotta have these conversations with my daughter. I'm like, oh my God, this is it. We're going into this stage of life. But these are awesome times, man. These are great things to be talking about and dealing with. So protect the kids, man. Protect the kids, man. Kids are the future. Look out for the kids and stuff. And I know there's often times where I talk about pedophilia and things like that, but it's these adults that acting like they're friendly. It's rarely the stranger. It's always somebody that's close to the family that does the abduction, that does the sexual assault cases or the rape, uh, things like that. It's always somebody closer to you, so you gotta be. I don't want to say you gotta be, but you just always be observant, right? You just want to be observant of everything and everyone around you and your family and your kids, and even those without kids. You still always want to be observant of everything. But yeah, it's I had a nice little weekend. I enjoyed it, and I also missed not doing my shows Thursday and Friday too. Not in a bad way. I mean, obviously, I had other things going on that were more important, and those things require more of my attention. But at the same time, I was like, oh, I was excited to come back on today for Monday's show. I was like, yep, get right back to it, bro. Let's tons of shit to talk about in the world, bro. We gotta talk to you. Gotta talk about these things, man. I gotta get these thoughts out because I'm just like, oh my god, what is going on? There's so much wild shit. It's always an abundance of wild shit. And obviously, you see the title of today's episode. I'm not even touching on just the shit, some things Fauci said and things I saw too. And, Gina Carano interview with Ben Shapiro. I'm almost done with that. I've been listening to that and stuff, and uh, man, I want to touch on it, but not go too deep into it. But I personally suggest, or I would recommend rather that you watch it because she literally highlights. She shows you that she's just a regular person, but not in the sense of she's not a celebrity and stuff. She's a celebrity, but she's still down to earth. But I mean a regular person in the sense of consciously becoming aware. Yes, your term is awakening or becoming woke, whatever, but that's what it is. She's consciously becoming aware of what's going on in the world because she talked about that she didn't have no political views, and so she never really thought of it in that way, but she used some logic to things that's going on in the world. Oh my God. And even what's going on, what happened with her at Lucasfilm and or at Disney, she had a publicist that talked to her about certain things, and she's like, "Hey, you can't use logic when you talk to some of these people. They only respond to emotion." And that's what I've been talking about. Human beings are emotional creatures, and if we don't understand that, we will become easily manipulated because our emotions are all over the place. So you have to find that balance of your emotions and also find that balance of logic and emotion. Because you want to be too logical, too analytical, because you then deprive yourself of those emotions. That's all we're trying to do is trying to find balance within the human species. But we have a small minority group of the species trying to control the rest of us. Literally control the rest of us through emotional manipulation. But one thing I always constantly say to anybody and everybody, doesn't matter if you're a kid, adult, nothing, because I tell myself all this time. I tell myself this all the time. Everything's a lie. Everything's a lie because it's all been designed that way. Like, hey, we relate to the game. It's exactly what Gina Carano was talking about. She's like kind of late to the game on this because she said that this is her first time voting. She never really paid attention to politics. She never really noticed it. She paid her taxes and stuff, but she didn't really care about it. And she said after they shut down and they did the shutdown, she's like she knows she know how it is to go with work and go without words, from fighting and being an actor. I don't understand the word actress. I don't understand that because if you're a protector or you're a protectress, like just I don't understand making a female version of a word that's like whatever is the word. Like you're an actor, you act. I don't. Well, anyways, so far as her being an actor and stuff, and she's where she had work and had not times when she didn't have work, and you go through depression because you don't have your job, you don't have the thing that you want to do and stuff. So when the shutdowns happened and stuff, she was like, "Hey, this is kind of dangerous. Like we shouldn't be going down this route," because she knows from her own personal experience, and we all know. You ever been fired or let go from work or whatever the case may be? Like it throws you off, man. Like we don't actually work for money. I don't know if people understand that. We don't actually work for money. We work for our own sense of ego. Really, we want to do something that gives us a sense of purpose. That's it. That's why we work. First and foremost, we want to do something that gives us a sense of purpose. That's it. When I talk about raising my kids and stuff, it gives me a sense of purpose. When I talk about doing this podcast and making these videos and stuff, it gives me a sense of purpose. Like, yeah, I get on like, hey, this is what I do, regardless of if anybody's listening or not. This is what I do. I feel this is my purpose. That's all we're trying to do, man. We're all trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. What do we do? And how do we go about doing that? a lot of questions, and we're trying to figure it out. But we're easily distracted, and we get thrown off by design into other things that have nothing to do with the purpose of humanity, which is to experience things. And so we kind of get thrown off by that. But yeah, as far as her interview, I really liked it. I really enjoyed it, and she really seems genuine, and yeah, she just seems genuine. To be honest with you, it's funny too because it's like, she's an MMA fighter, so you think of her as a badass with someone that'll beat the shit out of you, but at the same time, you could tell during the interview she's vulnerable. She's vulnerable. She's emotional. And when people were saying these things about her, calling her transphobic and homophobic, like I'm like, she's not. 'Cause why would she be? Once again, phobia means a fear of something, an irrational fear of something. So you can't, if you're transphobic, that means you're having an, an irrational fear of people that are transgender. No. And just because I don't agree with it doesn't mean I'm against it. I don't agree with it. It's not for me. It's not something I want my kids to do necessarily. I don't want them to be transgender. I don't want them to be homosexual per se. But at the same time, like, if they choose to do that, then they choose to do that. I probably will go back and forth. I don't agree with them, but it doesn't change anything. I don't understand how. I don't understand that. How, if we don't agree with something, that's okay. It's not for everybody. We need one, first and foremost, you can argue the fact that we probably need all these different perspectives, whether you're transgender, whether you want to be homosexual, whatever the case may be, whether you want to be obscene, whether you want to be racist, where you actually need all these perspectives to help the human species to evolve. Remember, polarity, universal law of polarity. You need two ends of the spectrum, and then you have the universal law of rhythm to swing in from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum, and that helps us really understand who we are as a species and what we can become as a species. Also, who you are as an individual and what you can become as an individual. We are limitless in potential as far as human beings. At the same time, we're really shitty. Everything is and isn't. It's amazing. But we have endless potential. I don't like human beings, but we have limitless potential. So at the same time, I like human beings because I know what we can become. Everyone has the potential to be great. But guess what? Everyone does not want to be great. And that's also okay as well. You choose that way because what is great? Only you define what is great. You don't have to be, this celebrity or this athlete or this so-called politician or this, you don't have to be Albert Einstein and all that stuff. You can be whatever because just because the popular opinion is someone is great, the popular opinion could be Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback ever, greatest football player ever. Is that actual factual? No, it's not. It's something that can never actually be proven to be 100% accurate or 100% truthful. It's debatable. It always will be. But at the same time, who cares? it's just things to talk about. It's just things to talk about, man. So yeah, I just kind of want to get that out and stuff. And before I move on to today's topic, which is obviously reparations. Reparations. So the reason why I came about wanting to talk about reparations because I seen this article here from Forbes, and actually before I even get into that, it makes me think. Anytime I bring up websites or YouTube videos stuff, now I'm always worried about copyright claims because when I upload the video version of the podcast, now I'm getting copyright claims and stuff. When I during the last episode, I got copyright claim from I think it was Gizmodo website for me showing that video, and it's like fuck y'all copyright claims, man. Like it's right there on the website, like because it even says on YouTube like even though you don't receive any monetization from your videos, there is no copyright strike. It's just a claim, and they just put a certain part of the video inaudible, meaning you can't hear it. So if you listen to the video version of this, sometimes we don't hear anything. It's because that makes sense now. It's because copyright claims stuff. But I'm sitting there thinking like, you know what? Now I know what happens. Why it happens when I'm doing the live stream. I'm recording the video and I press not play, but when on YouTube the screen like flickers and goes black and it comes right back real quick. There algorithms monitoring. Somebody's monitoring this stuff. Like, oh, that's probably gonna be a copyright claim. As I got a copyright claim for Gizmodo, and I got a copyright claim for something else. I forget. I did a I did a reaction video for Mortal Kombat trailer. If you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube and Odyssey channel. Fuck Mortal Kombat. I don't care what no one says. Fuck this movie. Uh, I don't care about somebody try to get at me on Twitter too. Oh, you guys gamers just want something in the past. Or you can't handle nothing new. Like, no, that's not the case. But if you sit here and take some of the source material as far as a couple of characters and flip them all around, you take someone that's not a dark skin in the video games and then you make them dark skin, like Melina, that's not cool. That's not the game, man. Like if this movie is based on a video game, then when I watch the movie, I should want to jump into the video game and see the same thing. Now, the whole plot line doesn't have to be exactly the same. You can switch things around, but when you switch certain things around, now it's like, okay, are you switching things around to provide a better story, a better streamlined plot, or are you switching things around because you just feel like it, because it's convenient for you? So like when Sub Zero rips off Jack's arm, I feel like they did that just to make it convenient because they didn't want to introduce the other characters that does that, like Ermac, or actually the fact that Jax just kind of put bionics on his arms because he was lacking self confidence. Or even from one of the anime movies where Goro rips off Jack's arm. So like, or Kano being a bad guy or being a good guy, and they're thinking, oh, he's probably gonna betray the rest of them, and he's gonna turn out to be a bad guy. But it's like, but Kano and Sonya Blade are like mortal enemies because, well, Sonya Blade just has a grudge against him because Kano killed one of her partners. That has nothing to do with a Mortal Kombat tournament. And Liu Kang is like the main character and the champion of Mortal Kombat for like the couple Mortal Kombats. So, oh man, I don't even want to get into it. I already did a breakdown and stuff like that. So I could spend an hour or two alone just talking about that. But yeah. But I just thought it was interesting that I uploaded a video and it wasn't even made public yet, and I already had a copyright claim on it from Warner Brothers. It's like fuck you, Warner Brothers, fuck you, Warner Brothers Media, fuck you, AT&T. How you gonna give me a copyright claim on something that is widely distributed? And I get the monetization of it, but I made the screen small. I talked over the whole thing, and they only did it for like a minute or so. And I understand how these things work too. Like I talked over, it, and in some parts I didn't talk, and I didn't make too much noise at least, and I paused a lot of it and stuff. And yet here they are still giving me a copyright claim. So I know this is what people do it on YouTube, but at the same time, I don't make no money from this, so they can kiss my ass. And if I did make money from it, they can still kiss my ass. I don't care. I'm not bowing down for no profit, bro. I'm gonna say what I want to say, regardless of if money is involved or not, because money is not the overall arcing theme in my life that makes me do certain things. I can't let it. I can't. I can't. I just can't allow it to be because this is not who I am. Like, okay, that's enough of that, man. I spent enough time talking about all that. Let's get into today's topic. So yeah, I seen this bill or this article from Forbes, and it's from February 17th. But at the same time, I think it was on Twitter probably, and I seen this, and this shit had me rolling. Cause I was like, man, we bringing this shit up again, huh? 'Cause I remember, I'm old enough to remember now. Now I get what people were talking about as far as older generation when they're like, oh, this and this, and the younger generation like, oh, things are different now and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, no, it's just you're just not old enough to see how things are changing. And now that I understand that this is all by design, the whole communist takeover, socialist takeover, whatever, more control by the government, this is all by design. That's why things are changing, because they're deliberately changing things by design in order to bring in your globalist agenda. I said UN Agenda 2030. That's what it is. So I remember as a kid, there was always they talked about reparations. They talked about reparations for past decades, but I always thought it was just it never really made sense because it's like getting an A on a group project, even though you didn't do nothing but show up to class that one day. Actually, it's even worse than that. It's getting an A on a group project when you weren't even in that grade. It's like it's getting an A on a group project that your sibling did years earlier before you. I don't even know how to even. That's still a bad analogy. It's getting nothing for no fucking reason, and I don't like that because I was raised to always know that you earn everything, earn your keep, earn your respect, earn your money. You work for it. That's how I was raised. That's how I raised my kids. You get your ass out there, you work for these things, you earn it. That's also why we work too, because we want to earn things. We want to feel like we took the time, we enjoy the journey. Regardless of what people think, we enjoy the journey. We enjoy the struggle. And that's what it is. We want to earn something because that's what makes that accomplishment, that achievement, obtaining that goal so great because you worked for it. So when I see reparations, I don't want to get money for some shit I didn't fucking work for. Right? I don't understand that. So this is obviously from Forbes. It says Democrats push for a reparations bill testing White House support. Congressional Democrats renewed their push for a federal study of racial reparations at a committee hearing Wednesday, the latest test of whether President Joe Biden would support compensation to black Americans for centuries of slavery and systematic racism in the U.S. So, black Americans, what is a black American? How do you define a black American? Because we're talking about skin tone, then, well, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people, regardless of whether or not both their parents are, so-called black. And obviously, that's in black Americans. That includes the Hispanic black Americans. So your people from Cuba, Dominican Republic, Haiti. These are your, black Americans as well. Correct? Is that what we're talking about too? Those in the Caribbean islands? It's a broad term. It's a generic term. It's a nonsensical term. Shit doesn't make sense. Excuse me. Man. It says a bill would establish a commission to study and develop reparation proposals. What? A bill that would establish a commission to study and develop reparation proposal has gained traction since Democrats won control of the White House and the Senate in November. They didn't though. Whatever. Okay, whatever. It has garnered the support of more than 170 co-sponsors in Congress. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, like General Lee, the Confederate Army, who introduced a bill known as HR, so House Resolution 40, said at a House Judiciary Subcommittee hearing. Biden signaled support for Reparations Committee as a candidate in the 2020 election, but has not officially endorsed any specific legislation on the issue since he took office last month. Asked by Forbes if Biden currently supports H.R. 40, the White House press office did not respond. First and foremost, before I go on with the article, the first question should be, where would this money come from? And if you say that it should come from taxes, then okay, so you're going to tax black Americans to give them back money? That's kind of fucked up, right? And you say, no, no. So then that means it will have to come from white people. So you're going to tax white people for money to give to black people. Does that not sound like that would create, I don't know, civil war? Once again, they want to divide us. This is yet another thing that does not mean unity, that is not about prosperity of a nation, that's not about the positivity of a nation. It's about division. That's all this is about. How can we divide people even more? Says a crucial quote, the president knows that we don't need a study to take action right now on systemic racism occurring today. An administration official said in an email to Forbes, the president has supported a study of reparations, studying the continuing impacts of slavery, and continues to demonstrate his commitment to take comprehensive actions to address systemic racism that persists today. Yeah, you know what? Shit, here I am doing shit on the fly again because fuck this guy. I know people always like, "Oh, Trump is racist." I'm like, "Oh, God, I guess no one's old enough to remember that." No one ever thought Trump was racist when he was in all those rap videos and stuff, huh? People ain't old enough to remember that. People don't remember that at all, and no one thought. But yet everyone wants to ignore Biden's racist comments and stuff like that. But I'm gonna show you something. Because what Malcolm X talked about, the most racist people you have is these white liberals and stuff. Here we go. Here we go. So let's take a listen to this real quick because I thought this was interesting. And this is not the first time. I mean, Joe Biden said one of the most racist things you could say. And he said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. By the way people talk about racism, that is not racism in itself right there. Kind of sounds like it to me. If you don't vote for him, then you ain't black. Guess what, Joe Biden? I'm not black. Apparently, according to his own words, and you can say, oh, that was just a joke. A lot of truth is said in jest. I think that's the Eminem quote, right? All right, listen to this.
The other portion is a lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular store.
So I just want to play it through just so you guys can kind of hear it. And I might play it through just to break it down in context, but I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is from Mark Dyson. And Joe Biden says black people and Hispanics don't know how to use the internet and can't figure out where to get the vaccine. I mean, even some of the people in the comments are like, oh, this is taken out of context. How is that taken out of context? It literally says, are racial disparities in COVID-19 vaccination a priority for your administration, and how will they be addressed? And he's saying now a lot of minorities, black or brown people in rural or inner city areas know how to access the internet and get on it. He didn't say don't have access to the internet because we're in a first world nation. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people have access to the internet. Really, if you got a fucking cell phone, you have access to the internet. Correct? What he is saying is exactly what he said. Not black or brown people, whatever, know how to get online to figure out how to get in line or register to get in line for a vaccination shot. I mean, that's insulting to someone's intelligence. I don't know how you can take that out of context. And that's not unedited, or that's not edited, rather. That's straight through, unedited. A lot of these things these quotes that they have about Trump, they're all edited. They're all edited. I always knew Trump wasn't racist because I'm like, he's been around forever. He was with all y'all. He's at the Shady National Convention. He was presented Eminem in 2004. Right? Look that up on YouTube. You can find it. I did a whole thread on my Twitter account as well. Everybody want to be like Donald Trump. All the rappers want to get money like Donald Trump, be in business, be in real estate like Donald Trump. Ludacris, Kanye West, all these black people want to be around Donald Trump. It's crazy. All of a sudden he announced that he was running for president. Now all of a sudden he's racist, even though it's like the second or third time that he ran for president. He also ran as an independent. Oh wow, that's crazy too. Little how people forget, even though we're in the generation of the digital information age where check the receipts. Well, they say now, right? Check the receipts. You can easily get online and go look up these things. You can look up all these videos in the past because pretty much almost everything in the past has been digitized. So you can find these videos. You can see these things have been taken out of context. So what can be taken out of context about him saying that? Listen to the shit again.
The other portion is a lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, in the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city.
Particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner cities. That's everybody. You either live in a rural area or you live in a city. All right, I guess the in between would be a combination of both, which is to me, my hometown is like that's what I feel like it is. It's a balance of kind of rural in a sense in some areas, and then also in the city, but it's not a big city like a New York or Orlando or Miami area. But I think it's funny that he's saying these things and he's trying to explain. Well, he's trying to explain because he's not. It's clearly he's not all the way there in the head, but whatever. I don't know how anybody look past that his cognitive issues, but hey, you got one clown, you got Trump being a clown at times too, so they're all clowns. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I just happen to agree with one clown a little bit more because he get up there and be theatrical, but I know he's also cerebral as well because I'm paying attention to the things he's saying, and I don't like I said I don't see myself. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I agree with what he's talking about. I don't think of myself as a supporter of anybody. I support my friends and family. I can only support people that I have a close relationship with because at least I have a personal relationship with them, so I kind of know what I'm actually supporting, as opposed to I just happen to agree with the things Trump was talking about, so that's why I voted for him. I know that might seem like a stretch to some of y'all, but it's not me splitting hairs. That's literally understanding the difference between knowing someone and and supporting them and agreeing with someone that's saying the same thing you already agree with anyways, whatever, or rather they're agreeing with you. Because I feel like Trump is agreeing with me because I don't fucking know him, so he's agreeing with me. Take it how you want to take it. You might can understand it. A lot of things I say nobody won't get from now. They won't understand what I'm talking about right now anyway. They'll understand like 5, 10 years from now. But when this person's talking about look up the term digital divide. This country has a major issue in regards to equitable internet access. I live in Montana. You just because your internet speed is not as fast, you're still good. You can go and survive on 5 megabyte download speed. I was in Guam playing Halo 3 on 5 megabyte download speed on the internet, playing Madden. Like it's a little bit of lag, and I had no problem watching videos on YouTube and stuff. I don't. A lot of people don't understand how data transfer and all these things work because, and it's not like I said, it's not complicated. Like I know I have an IT degree. It's associate. It's not complicated, man. I don't have a specific one. It's like things it's not complicated. You just gotta understand it. And like trying to take it out of trying to put it into context, saying, well, he's saying that I didn't even know Hispanic or black or brown people or whatever live in rural areas. I thought only white people live in rural areas. Because isn't that who votes for conservative? White people that live in rural areas? I'm just going off the demographics that CNN tells me. Like I said, I'm using their own information that they're talking about. See how contradicting it is? Because I didn't know minorities lived in rural areas. I thought minorities only lived in inner cities. I didn't know minorities lived in rural areas. I thought white people who were neo Nazis and rednecks and stuff like that lived in rural areas, and there were those demographics, and those were the Trump supporters and your QAnon supporters. Oh, it's not like that anymore, huh? Well, I remember it. I'm sorry if I remember what was told on these mainstream media outlets the past 5 or 6 years. It's not even like this is something that was different when I was a kid. Like, nah, yeah, they always say that rural areas vote Democratic or rural areas vote Republican because they're out there and these are white people that live in rural areas. That's why they vote Republican. And they're more independent, self-sufficient, so they're not worried about the law and stuff like that. But he's saying, your minorities are black or brown people because no one gives a fuck about Asians apparently. You ever notice that? Nobody gives a fuck about Asians. Nobody gives, even when the Asians bring it up, nobody gives a fuck about them. No one still cares about them. And you know what's funny? Because there's black and brown Asians as well. So what are we talking about here? We're just making stuff up, man. We're making stuff up. None of this applies to anything. You can't categorize human beings in that sense, man. You can't go off physical characteristics to categorize human beings. It's not. It's it makes no sense. It's completely irrational.
districts know how to use, know how to get online to determine how to get in.
So get online to determine. So he's not talking about internet access, as this one person commented, and I'm sure I know a bunch of other people say the same thing. It says honestly, if you knew anything about New York City alone, you know there is a serious problem that many low-income households do not have the internet connections and computers to be able to connect to school, let alone the ability to find a vaccine, which I haven't been able to do either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got to gather my thoughts real quick, man, because that's so absurd. Honestly, if you knew anything about New York City alone, you know there is a serious problem that many low income households do not have the internet connections and computers to be able to connect to school, let alone the ability to find a vaccine, which I haven't been able to do either. You understand that she just posted this comment on Twitter. She posted the comment on Twitter, which means she has internet access. So I wish I haven't been able to do either. To be able to either to find the ability to find a vaccine. But if you're on Twitter, you can every city council, every little local law enforcement, all these different governmental bodies and stuff in your area, they all have Twitter pages. They all have Facebook pages. They all use social media to reach out to everybody. So you can find information. Clearly, she can find information because she got on Twitter and posted this comment. It's emotion. That's all it is. They're all pandering to emotion. It's not about logic. It's not about actually sitting down and thinking about this. And one person said, watch the whole video. He wasn't being racist, but this is what race. This is how people hide their racism or whatever the case may be. If you want, I still don't necessarily call it racism. To me, it's just prejudice or ignorance. But because to me, racism comes from a place of hate, and if you hate someone, it's not you just hate them. I mean, if you want to use race as an excuse, it doesn't matter. You're still just a hateful person. There's a lot of shitty people in the world. It doesn't bother me. It don't care what you think about me. I mean, I don't care what you think about me. I don't care what you say about me. And if I do, and I get offended, guess what? That's on me. It's something my parents always taught me. And don't let these words affect you. If you let these words affect you, then you need to toughen up. You need to be able to mentally and emotionally handle somebody saying some words to you that you don't like. Toughen up. They did that to me. They did that to my sister. They do that to my brother. Like, toughen up. What he's saying here is just makes me laugh because it's like, how do you not see it? Because you can't see it if you're applying emotion to it. Because it sounds good. Because he's saying it in a manner like he sounds like he's concerned. Well, one, he just spewing off information that was told to him in his earpiece, wherever the case may be, or wherever card. I'm sure these are questions he probably went over anyway prior to.
Line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular store.
So Walgreens. If you're on YouTube, I see advertisements for vaccines everywhere. I'm sure I know it's on Twitter because I'm speaking it right now. It's gonna be on my phone later on today. I see it on YouTube when I'm watching live sports. Shit, fucking, I can't believe I said that. When I'm watching live sports on Hulu, goddamn propaganda commercials, man. They shit does work, man. Hulu has live sports. Stupid Dame Lillard, man. So when I when I watch TV and stuff on Hulu, I'm watching live TV and stuff. I see the commercial: get the flu shot and get your COVID-19 vaccination at Walgreens. So even if I don't know how to get it online, you tell me I can't go to Walgreens? Tell me I can't go to Publix? You telling me I can't go to a clinic somewhere and ask a question? You telling me I have to get online in order to get this information? I can't go register in person and come back at another time and wait in line? Ain't nobody trying to get a vaccine anyway. That's what it is, bro. Nobody wants your shit. Nobody wants your thing that you made up in the kitchen. You whipped in the kitchen, bro. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants your petri dish experiment.
The other part
Oh, it
portion
went
is
back, man. Nah.
American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city.
The rural areas that are distant. That's the definition of rural, bro. Out in the country, distant. You can't. You can't. You know what? I think I just got it wrong. I got the rural area definition wrong. That's what it is.
Districts
Yeah.
know how to get online to determine how to get in.
He didn't say access. He said know how to get online. He didn't say have access to online. And if he misspoke, oh, I guess it's just another one of these Joe Biden gaffes where he just constantly misspoke or he constantly misspeaks. A lot. All the time.
Line for that COVID vaccination at the Walgreens or at the particular store.
You know, I just want to show you all that. I don't want to get too much into it because, you know, you have your own opinions about it. You can't look at that and take a logical standpoint. In my own opinion, you can only come from a perspective of emotion, which I still question. I don't even know how you even come to that perspective. But go back to this article. As far as his quote and stuff he said, then after that, it says key background. Biden signed a series of executive orders intended to address racial injustice during his first weeks in the White House. You don't need, that's the problem. People always think we need more laws and regulations. When you have more laws and regulations, you're taking this away from the people themselves. You can't govern people to be good. You don't want to intrude on someone's personal liberties, but you can't govern people to be good. You can't tell someone, hey, you need to pick this person because based on their skin color. But in that kind of goes against the point. You want people to get picked based on the content of their character. You can only hope that people just would do the right thing. That's it. And I get it. I understand. People are like, oh, well, you know, you need well, not reparations. Obviously, we're talking about reparations. What is it called? I can't think of the name right now. Affirmative action. And I always was like skeptical about that because of like, I don't think it's kind of like we're going down the wrong path. Like one thing we need to come together as a species and mainly so as a nation and realize we're not that much different from each other. So stop being divisive. If we can all be unified, we won't be talking about these things. But let's be honest, when it comes to business, and if you're a business owner, put your mind in the perspective of owning your own business and a business owner. Do you care about anything that goes on in that person's personal life? No, hey, are you coming to work? Are you doing a good job? That's it. You can go home and be the Ku Klux Klan member that you want to be. Are you doing a good job at work? Cool. It makes me remind me of that movie American History X, where the guy was like, look, I don't care if you're a Nazi, man. You come in this laundry room and stuff, you gonna fold these towels and stuff like that, you gonna do your job. That's it. Because you getting paid, I'm getting paid. Wherever the case may be, and how it goes in prison. That's what it comes down to, because we have to come to work together. I don't care. And I think for the most part, people try to hide that stuff anyways. And if you're a closet racist, good for you. Because I don't want you, like when you come outdoors into society, yeah, you can walk around with say, I hate niggers. Someone could walk around my face in my neighborhood saying, I hate niggers. All right, cool. Just don't come on my lawn or come into my house trying to threaten to kill me or my kids or cause harm to me and my kids. And you walk by, fuck you, nigger. All right, come stop and say that in my face. Come onto this property and say that. All right, then. You saying that with intention of assault, like you want to cause harm to me? That's different. That's different. But that goes with anything. Because if I replace it, someone call me a nigger, then say someone drives by and say, oh man, I don't like you because you're a Trump supporter. Now what? Oh, you voted for Trump? I hate you. How is that not the same thing as being racist? Bro, it's literally the same thing. You despise someone because of one thing. You despise. That's what's going on. Everyone's becoming the thing that they don't like. If you don't like racist people, that means don't pass any judgment on anyone because of whether their political ideologies or their skin tone or characteristics. None of that stuff. You get to know the person. Don't come to conclusions, or don't jump to conclusions about someone unless you get to know them. If you don't like someone because they have a Biden flag in the yard, guess what? You're part of the problem. It's the same thing. It's the same concept. You're judging someone. You're prejudging someone, which means you're prejudiced. I know. Another one of my crazy concepts. You're making too much sense, Damien. Calm the fuck down. I got it. So it goes on talking about big numbers, 20% in Reuters I post poll, whatever these fake polls they come with, conducted in June. That's how many respondents said they supported taxpayer money to pay damages to descendants of enslaved people. The problem with that is, how can you determine someone is a descendant of slavery? By the skin tone? That means nothing. You cannot determine someone with their ancestors were part of slavery because of their skin tone. Because if you want to go that route, then everybody comes from ancestors of slavery. Everybody comes from an ancestry of slavery. Everyone's a descendant of slave. And for all those black people, like, oh, I should get reparations because of what my ancestors went through. Oh, that's cool. You didn't go through it, though. You didn't go through that. Understand, you did not go through that. Understand that. You did not go through those things. You can be pissed off all you want to. You did not go through slavery. So you're getting mad about something that you didn't go through. Guess what? We all should be mad about slavery. If you're not pissed off about slavery, then obviously you don't want to be a decent human being. And if you're pissed off about slavery in the past, why are you not pissed off about slavery now? I'm sorry, human trafficking. Because human trafficking is slavery. I did a whole episode about it. Go ahead and check out the catalog of my podcast. Human trafficking is modern day slavery. That's literally what it is. It's the same thing. And when we talk about slavery in the past, we're talking about really the mistreatment of slaves, because what's the difference between a slave and an employee other than the treatment? And you're probably thinking like, you can't compare a slave to an employee. Well, about a slave to an indentured servant. Yeah, indentured servant, where you're indebted and you're working off your debt. And you work off your debt until, once you work off your debt, then you get set free. Or you just in debt and you're working off your debt and you're an employee. And once you're done paying off your debt, you go on about your life. Or you get tricked into slavery, which still happens today. Indentured servitude, where you get stuck into slavery and stuff, and you're sucked into it. Let's look up this word. I feel like I'm saying it wrong. I am. Damn. What is it? Injured servitude. I'm spelling all this shit wrong. I'm spelling everything wrong right now. I can't not think it. Indentured servitude. Man, I don't know why. I have a hard time saying that. So you have your Wikipedia definition saying indentured servitude is a form of labor, sometimes involuntary, in which a person who took out a loan agrees to work without salary for the lender for a specific number of years. Historically, it was used to pay for apprenticeships and blah blah. Merriam-Webster dictionary, indentured servant, a person who signs and is bound by indentures to work for another for a specific time, especially in return for payment of travel expenses and maintenance, which happens to be a lot of so-called slavery. Because it still happens today. And a lot of them got tricked into slavery. Well, a lot of them just paid off debts and were set free, or released from their contract. Almost like an employee. Crazy concept. Because guess what? When you go to work, you're getting paid in recognized legal tender for debt. The U.S. dollar is debt. So when you go to work, you're an indentured servant. That's what you are. Because you're paying off debt. Your student loan debts, your credit card debts. And until you get enough money, You get set free until you achieve financial freedom. Then you keep working. Maybe that's a stretch, right? Maybe that's a stretch for y'all. Maybe that's too much of a. Maybe you might feel like I'm reaching. And you know what? I'll give you that. It's not the best analogy. I'm doing this on the fly, so I'll give you that. It's not the best analogy. I'm my own worst critic, so I understand that. Indentured servitude refers to a contract between two individuals in which one person worked not for money, but in exchange for the price of passage to America. Oh, what? That's a definition from Investopedia. See what happens when you go talk about economy and finances. The definition kind of talks a little bit differently because this is what it's all about. Economy, resources. That's what it's all about. Business. So, well, if I don't know, African so-called slave, or what about an African prisoner or a prisoner of war says, hey, can I get some freedom? It's like, hey, if you want passage to a new land, we're going to this other place. If you want to come with us, well, guess what? You got to work your way. It's like, all right, well, I'll work for you. And then the next thing you know, you get some people being slick and dirty and undermining the contract, and now they're stuck into slavery. You mean the same thing that happens today in human trafficking? Yes. Yes, Damien. The same thing that happens today. Oh, wow. That's crazy. That's a crazy concept. I can't believe that's still happening. Yes, it still happens. But everything is a lie because you're only getting half truths. You're not getting the full version. If you understood the full version of all this stuff, you would know that we're arguing over stupid shit. We're arguing over stupid shit. Here's one from Wisegate. Indentured servitude is a system of exchanging a period of time and labor for needs such as food, housing, property, or money at the end of service. Look at it. The definitions don't even match up with each other. Because basically, you are going into a contractual agreement. And guess what happens? Sometimes people are slick with contractual agreements and they don't want to let you free of that contractual agreement. Sometimes they do honor that contractual agreement. So when we're talking about slavery in America, we're talking about the mistreatment of human beings, which guess what? We all should be opposed to, but it's also not limited to just America. The mistreatment of human beings still goes on today. When you're talking about the selling of organs in human trafficking, the selling of sex in human trafficking, the selling of kids, human beings being sold as commodity. We're even talking about on the stock market, which is something we probably have to get into as well. I guess that's just another crazy conspiracy theory, but kind of weird that people are already being used as commodity. Your digital information is being sold. You think all those little hacks by Yahoo email accounts, where does that go? All to the dark web. Credit card information is all being sold. Social security number, all being sold on the dark web. Everything's about money. Everything's about business. You're just looking at it from the wrong perspective. So I wanted to show you guys this video. I like Thomas Sowell. I don't really talk to him. I don't really. I just now recently kind of realized who he was, but also at the same time, I was saying a lot of things that he's been saying for decades. Obviously, he's older than me, so I came to the same conclusions on my own, which is cool. But it's also cool to see that hey, someone like this has been talking about this. And do I want to play this video first? I'm here already. Yeah. So let's check out what his thoughts on reparations are.
So what I'm getting at is, you were of the generation that saw Jim Crow with your own eyes.
Oh, no question. No question.
Okay. So, well, let me read you a quotation. This is from an article that got a lot of attention in The Atlantic a couple of years ago called The Case for Reparations by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Quote, white supremacy is a force so fundamental to America that it is difficult to imagine the country without it. Reparations is the price we must pay to see ourselves squarely. Close quote.
Reparations is the price we must pay to see ourselves squarely. So everyone now needs to pay for the sins of everybody ahead of them. The sins of our fathers. I think that's a Masonic teaching as well. Now think about it. Some type of occult teaching. Or secret society teaching. So now we must pay the sins of our fathers, even though we don't necessarily know the sins of our fathers, even though we don't necessarily know our fathers' fathers, fathers. You would need to individually check every single so-called black person in America ancestry. I'm not talking about no DNA test that you get on 23andMe or whatever. I'm talking about a real genealogical record indication, birth certificates, wherever the case may be, factual evidence gathered, collected, and gathered, assembled to show that you have direct ancestry to someone who was in slavery and mistreated. So once again, you have to be slavery. Whether they chose to be in slavery, because if they chose to be in slavery, then guess what? They're an employee on a plantation farm, getting money, getting a place to live, and getting food. And you say, "Oh, well, that's not good. They're still in slavery." Well, that happens today. When you're talking about migrant workers who want to come across into America and stuff, they're taking jobs and stuff. That's what they want to do. They're taking certain jobs that other people don't want to do. That's essentially the same thing, man. Once again, maybe I'm reaching. You know what? That's probably what it is, right? I'm reaching. Because this can't be this simplistic. It's a perspective that people are having because it doesn't make sense. It won't make sense because it's not supposed to. It's by design to divide people. It won't make sense. It's by design to divide people.
And Tom Sowell, who actually saw Jim Crow with his own eyes and experienced it, responds how?
It would be nice to know his evidence for what he said, just to be old-fashioned about it. No, it was a rotten system. But I don't know how we get from that to reparations. I mean, what we see in the United States in terms of the bad things,
Like slavery's
we
wrong.
see all around the world.
Yes.
If you were to give reparations to everyone whose ancestors had been slaves, I suspect that you would have to give reparations to more than half the entire population of the globe. Slavery
Easily.
was not confined to one set of races. I suspect that most of the people who were either slaves or slave owners around the world were neither white nor black. I mean, this was a universal curse of the human species.
Africa, the Middle
Like I always say, like slavery is part of the human species, man. Everything's built on slavery. Everything's built on manual labor. And obviously, if you want people to do something, you either entice them to do it through money, which is why money is the system of control as well, or you force them to do it. Slavery. That's all it comes down to. But your buildings, your structures, your homes, all that stuff is either money or slavery. Pick one. Because we have not evolved to the part of the species where we just do things because it's for the betterment of all of us. We're not evolved, man. We're just not there yet. We need to work on our evolutionary track. That's what we really should be focusing on. Fuck the government. Fuck politics. We need to pay attention to how do we want to evolve as a species. In order to pay attention to how we want to evolve as a species, we have to pay attention to how we want to evolve ourselves, the individual. The individual, the collective. Because it's not either or, it's both. The individual and the collective of the species, because we're all one conscious being having a billion different perspectives all at once. Maybe that's too spiritual, right? Maybe that's too spiritual for some. Maybe saying that we're all connected in this one universe or whatever amongst a multiverse. Maybe that's too spiritual. Maybe it's saying that all our atoms and materials that make us up are pretty much all dispersed throughout all of existence in this universe. Maybe that's too much. Maybe I'm trying to connect us to everything. Maybe the atoms in your body have been around for billions of years, right? Maybe that's too much for people to understand. The minerals in your body have been on this planet for 4 point something billion years that the Earth been around, and then it came from other stars and stuff like that, and other planets in the solar system amongst the Milky Way galaxy, all having the same atoms. Maybe that makes too much sense that we're all spiritually, consciously connected to everything around us. Maybe that makes too much sense.
East Asia,
Oh,
slavery took place everywhere.
and it continued elsewhere long after it was abolished in the Western countries.
All right. Let me try as sticking with Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I don't even know if he's trying to figure out what to say.
Shelby Steele talks about white guilt. And in Ta-Nehisi Coates, you get almost the counterpart of that, a kind of African-American claim against the white guilt. And this seems, beginning with the abolitionists, even beginning before the Civil War, you seem almost every generation, there's some expression that racism and slavery, as Shelby calls it, correctly, of course, the sin of slavery is so deeply, and it's something we still live with. How do we expiate it? How do we get past it? Is there something we can do to relieve ourselves of this legacy?
That is a good question. What can we relieve ourselves of this legacy? And it's the answer is in the question of itself. Legacy. It's in the past. That's it. It's in the past. It was what I was talking to my kids yesterday. You learn from history. You study history in order to learn from it, so you don't make the same mistakes again. You want to improve on slavery and stuff like that. Learn from it in the past. Teach it in its full contextual manner, meaning it wasn't about race. It was about this is what human beings do. This was normal business. You're talking about your Mali Empire in the 13th, 14th century, 1300s and 1400s. Your tons of slavery that still goes on in Africa today. I hope people understand that slavery still goes on in Africa till this day, in the continent of Africa, amongst the many different countries in Africa. Slavery still goes on. Slavery still goes on in America. Go back and check out my episode where I talked about slavery and modern day slavery and the history of it. It still goes on today. You know, the shit they won't teach you in school in the United States educational system, the education system that's designed fully to be propaganda and not about educating the youth. It's more about the indoctrination of the youth. Pay attention to what your kids learn in school, man. This shit is insane. What we were taught, because I had these questions when I was a kid. I'm like, wait a minute, y'all said no aliens, none of that stuff made the pyramids, that the pyramids was made by slaves. Yet we don't talk nothing about that. We don't say that's a bad thing. We don't say anything about that. And then later on in school, I'm learning, oh, well, slavery was bad in America. But shouldn't slavery have been bad with the pyramids? I don't see nobody trying to cancel the pyramids, saying, oh, we need to take down the pyramids. Really, because by the same logic that is being displayed right now in America, saying anybody that was racist or anything to do with slavery, we should cancel them and take them down and rewrite history, then that means we need to take down the Great Pyramids of Giza. Right? We need to take down the Great Pyramids of Giza because they say that was made by slaves, so we need to take that shit down, right? And guess where Egypt is? Oh, I forget. Oh, wait, it's in Africa. Oh my God. Oh my God. Slavery in Africa. That's insane. What are you talking about? So in the same argument, that means we should take down the Great Pyramid of Giza. And if you're saying, no, we shouldn't do that, then what are you fucking saying when you're talking about reparations and slavery in America?
Oh, I think you should repeat it. If you were a slave owner, I don't see any reason why you should feel differently. On the other hand, I can't get over the idea of A, apologizing for what B did.
Okay.
Even when they're contemporaries, much less when one is dead and the other is alive.
All right.
I mean, Scalia, I remember.
You have nothing to do with it. You have nothing to do with it. If I have nothing to do with slavery and you have nothing to do with slavery, then that means we're progression in our evolutionary track, as far as at least for the nation of America. That's a good thing. How come no one looks at the positive? You know, order through chaos. Like, you can have a lot of negative things happen and then turn into something positive. We can acknowledge that slavery was bad, and we can acknowledge that the treatment of slaves was bad. What we're really trying to acknowledge is and highlight the mistreatment of human beings. That's what we're talking about. The mistreatment of human beings. That's what it all comes down to. Yet no one cares about kids being taken and child sex trafficking. No one talks about these things as far as things that go on in Hollywood and other things as far as pedophilia. We don't want to talk about that, but they want to talk about slavery. That's a distraction. Why they always want us to focus on things in the past that no one alive has even dealt with. You understand that? No one alive has even dealt with this in America in the sense of slavery or what they're talking about as far as pre-Civil War time frame. No one alive in America has even dealt with that. Like I said, I had to go back 4 generations to really determine if one of my ancestors was in slavery. And that's just going on the so-called manner of the fact that my skin color is dark, so everyone above me skin color must have been the same thing. But guess what? My kids can't say that. My kids can't say that. They have a whole different side of the family that has nothing to do with that. But if they both decide to have kids with someone else with dark skin color, then will those kids, my grandkids, be like, oh yeah, well, we're black, so where's our reparations? I'd be like, man, you'll shut your little mixed breed ass down. No, you're not. Because that's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. They're like, yeah. So what do we even do with that? With people that are mixed? My friends and family members that are mixed and stuff, do they get a portion of reparations? So you can't even come at this from a actual financial standpoint, because if you have 1 ounce of black in you, you can find the whitest person in America, they'll probably have 1 ounce of black in them. And I'm talking about African black. And that whitest person could have more of a direct ancestry to slavery than you. You actually don't know unless you trace your direct lineage, which no one is going to do. Don't say, oh, white people can do this because they know where they came from. No, they don't. They're just making up shit. You know what I mean? White people be like, oh yeah, I have this ancestry. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're just making it up. They don't. They don't actually know. No one actually knows because no one actually pays attention, because no one actually cares. You just know where you're here now. Live in the present. Right? Live in the present. You learn from the past, you live in the present, and it helps you understand the future or predict the future. And I don't want to come off and sound like I'm preaching, because I'm not. What I'm saying is, this is how I talk to myself. Understand this. This whole podcast, everything, when I talk about different things or I'm sharing information, this is how I told myself this. This is how I learned this information myself. This is how I argue with myself. Or I want to say argue, but this is how I have the different terms or different views of conflict with myself. All I'm doing is giving you a glimpse into my own thoughts. This is so intimate. I'm giving you a glimpse into my own thoughts, because the words I'm saying over this microphone that's being spread across the world digitally is just my own personal thoughts with my own inner consciousness going back and forth with myself. That's all this is. So don't take it as me preaching or trying to teach you anything. I'm just sharing you my thoughts that I literally have with myself. Because when I sit here and call myself an idiot, you hear me on this microphone. I'm like, damn, Damien, you're stupid. What'd you thought of that for? Hey, why'd you mess up? Hey, you don't know how to speak correctly? Hey, get over yourself, guy. This is how I talk to myself. Because I am my own worst critic, and I am also my biggest critic. No person alive will ever criticize me more than I criticize myself. No person alive will ever say more negative things about me than what I say to myself. Because that's who we are. It's just our own consciousness. We're just having our own conscious experience, creating our own realities, and still being able to see all the other perspectives going on at the same time. Ooh, kind of mind-blowing.
Saying, that I owe no man anything because people who look like me did something that people who look like him.
Okay, so just get past it. Get to work.
Yeah.
All right. Tom Sowell's view is get an education, stay married, and do your job. Roughly. Yeah. All right. Charles Murray. You used to write a column every so often called Random Thoughts on the Passing Scene. Yes. And so I'm giving you a little snippets here of the passing scene in our final questions. Charles Murray, in his 1984 book, Losing Ground, and Charles Murray writes about discussions in academia and government about the effort to close the gap again between African Americans and whites. Quote, 1984, quote, whites had created the problem It was up to whites to fix it.
Okay.
And there was very little in the dialogue that treated blacks as responsible actors.
So whites had created the problem. It was up to whites to fix it. And there was very little in the dialogue that treated blacks as responsible actors. So whites did not create slavery. If you ever look up, like I said, the Mali Empire, look up Mensa Musa. Man conquered a lot of land, one of the richest men in recorded history, or at least modern recorded history, and had slaves. You can talk about the black Muslims and stuff that enslaved white people, and we're gonna get into that a little bit. I got a video from Thomas Sowell who talks about the history of slavery, some interesting facts, and I think I already shared it on my website as well, on my blog site rather. So I talked about it before. You had the Black Panther Party in the 60s, 70s. And it's funny that they come out with a Black Panther Party movie, yet I wonder if they're going to show the White Panther Party as well. It's one thing that people kind of forget, that white people were also at the forefront of civil rights era. That white people was also there marching along, Martin Luther King and stuff like that. That white people was there with Black Panther Party, because I said you had the White Panther Party. And if you don't believe me, well, here we go down this road. Look it up real quick. And your White Panther Party. The White Panther Party is from Wikipedia. The White Panther Party, the White Panthers were an anti-racist political collective found in 1968 by Plumodon, Lenny Sinclair, and John Sinclair. It was started in response to an interview where Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party, was asked what white people could do to support the Black Panthers. There you go. White people helping out black people. So as you see this quote right here, it says whites had created the problem. It's up to whites to fix it. And there was very little in the dialogue that treated blacks as responsible actors. And I'm sure that he's going to kind of break down his quote, but I'm more or less saying that if it's up to whites to fix it, well, there you go. They were trying to. It is from, it says, Inside Forgotten History of the White Panther Party, allthingsinteresting.com. The White Panther Party were white activists who supported the Black Panther Party, a revolutionary black socialist movement. Yeah. Notice how socialism, communism infiltrated into the black communities in the 60s and 70s. Black Panthers were communists, socialists. They wanted to share all the things and stuff like that, and help each other. And it only works in a small scale, because it was only for like that Oakland area in California. It works in a small scale. You can't do it on a large scale as far as a nation. Do it in a small tribe. The White Panthers also promoted the anti-war movement and the decriminalization of marijuana. Later, they would rebrand themselves as the Rainbow Page People's. Wait, I messed that all up. They rebranded themselves as the Rainbow People's Party. The Rainbow People's Party. So, damn, never heard that shit in my life. The Rainbow People's Party. Oh look, they got a Facebook page. The New White Panther Party. The New White Panther Party was an anti-racist political collective founded in 1968, blah, blah. So I guess they started it back up. So white people were there too to help stop this. So I guess those people that are part of the White Panther Party, even till this day, I guess they're all in favor of reparations, having their tax money be taken out. What about Asians? What about Hispanics? What about Native Americans? Do they all have to pay taxes and stuff and have their money go to black Americans? Does that even sound like it makes sense to have your tax-paying dollars go to paying off reparations? Now, that's a fault on my part, because I didn't necessarily read all the things as far as the bill was going and stuff. But you ain't gotta understand. If you know anything about money, and anytime they say we're gonna have someone pay for something, what they mean is we're gonna have taxes pay for it. We're going to increase taxes. So if you're okay with your tax money going to black people that have nothing to do with slavery and no verification whether or not they had any ancestors of slave get tax-paying dollars for reparations. If you're okay with that, well, that's your business. You know, that's all on you. I completely disagree with that. It makes no sense to me. I mean, I'm black, am I not? I don't think I want my money, but I guess I'm my Uncle Tom, huh? I'm a sellout, right? I'm a coon, because that's what I was called on Twitter. That's what sure, that's what some of my friends think of me. That's what some people think of me. I guess you can't really call them friends and they think I'm a coon, but hey, that's what some people think of me. Some people think I'm a white people lover. Like, hey, that's what it goes down to. So I guess I don't get those reparations, huh? Right? I guess my white loving ass doesn't get those reparations, huh? No reparations for me.
Close
Yes,
quote.
yes.
Has that changed?
No, it is not.
All right. On.
You don't even know what the fuck to say after that. Let's go. I'm gonna go back and show y'all. Okay, yeah, it says facts about slavery. And it's from Thomas Sowell YouTube page.
Hi, my name is.
Stupid infomercials or commercials. I said infomercials. It's showing your age, man. All right, let's start at the beginning. And this is from also an excerpt from Intellectuals and Race. It's a book I definitely need to read. I definitely need to read it. But it says facts about slavery they don't teach you at school. And it's something I shared on my website, DamianJackson22.com. Also, when I upload the video version of this podcast, I'll have the links to my articles and to these videos in the description as well.
Slavery. Nowhere have intellectuals seen racial issues as issues about intertemporal abstractions more so than in discussions of slavery. Moreover, few facts of history have been so distorted by highly selective filtering as has the history of slavery. To many people today, slavery means white people holding black people in bondage.
Right, that's it, right? That's the general image you see right here on the screen. For those on the audio version of the podcast, well, you see a white man on a ship with some black men and like just towels, something hanging over their private parts, and the white man is sitting there smoking his pipe or whatever the case may be, and it's like, yeah, nigger, being these slaves in chains. That's literally what the image they always want us to think of. That's what bothered me in school, because when they talked about slavery, they would always depict that, and my thing was, wait a minute, you also told me slavery happens in other parts of the world, so why are you so focused on this? Oh, it's because you're United States of America? But why are you not giving me the whole perspective? Why are you giving me these half-truths? Why do you want me to look at this other white kid in class and get pissed off at him? Because I've done that. That's something I'm not proud of. I looked at a white person and was mad at them about slavery, even though they had nothing to do with it. I'm a hypocrite. You understand that? To look at another person and be mad about slavery, like that's something I live with till this day. That I remember exactly where I was at. I was in 3rd grade at my elementary school. We were watching Roots, and I remember the emotion and feeling about watching a black man getting hit with a whip as Kunta Kinte was being beaten. First off, the shit was boring, so we watched it for a couple of days. I'm like, this shit is really boring. I want to go to sleep. I fell asleep anyways, but I remember the emotion that invoked in me. But my logical side of my brain was like, why am I getting pissed off about this? Why am I looking at this white kid next to me and getting pissed off about it? This kid has no idea. Like, they don't hate me. I don't hate them. They have nothing to do with none of this stuff. This stuff is in the past. So this is me in 3rd grade. This is 3rd grade Damien sitting there having these emotions, but also having these logical thoughts, thinking, hey, why am I even thinking this right now? This doesn't make sense. And then I'm sitting there like, you know what? I'm not thinking this. I'm feeling this. I'm not smart. I'm not more aware than anybody else either. I just don't deny myself what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. And I sit there and I confront it. I don't run away from it. I don't shy from it. I confront those feelings. And I had to confront the fact that I was being pissed off at another white person in my class about slavery, even though that white person in my class had nothing to do with anything about slavery. I'll never forget that. And it made me feel bad. It made me feel bad that I felt that way. towards a person for no reason. And I say that's me being a hypocrite, because what's the difference from, I don't know, a neo-Nazi member being mad at black people because of what one black person did to them in their life, or what one black person did to their parents in their past life, or in their parents' life, or in their grandparents' life. They didn't go through it, but they're applying that generalization to everyone else. So I felt bad for applying that generalization to everyone else. We're all liars. We're all hypocrites. We try our best not to be, but guess what? We're human. That's the whole point. To make mistakes, learn and grow from it.
White people holding black people in bondage. The vast millions of people around the world who were neither white nor black, but who were either slaves or enslavers for centuries, fade out of this vision of slavery as if they had never existed, even though they may well have outnumbered both blacks and whites. Easily. It has been estimated that there were more slaves in India than in the entire Western Hemisphere.
More slaves in India than the entire Western Hemisphere. I guess those are brown people, so it goes back to what some people think that, oh, well, white people. But then again, you know, another crazy concept, people actually enslave themselves, or other ones that look like them. But guess what? They found some other reason to categorize them as, well, they're not like us. They might have the same skin color, but you know what? They have a different religion. It's like human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, after we killed off Neanderthals and Homo erectus and all those other different hominid species, after we killed all those people out and we're the last man standing, we had no other competitors. So now we're like, well, shit, we got to find someone to compete against. So we turn to ourselves, be like, you know what? I don't like you. Well, why not? I don't know. Doesn't matter. I don't like you and I'm better than you, because our egos as a human being says we're better than someone. So we're better than someone. We have no one to be better than. Then we're better than the next person, for whatever reason that we can think of. We're just not that evolved yet.
China, during the era of slavery, has been described as one of the largest and most comprehensive markets for the exchange of human beings in the world. Slaves were a majority of the population in some of the...
Which China still has literally slaves today in concentration camp. Something that I think Joe Biden just ignored during his town hall meeting. I think the same place where they directed that movie, Mulan. I never actually looked into that. I don't want to say that for actual fact. Just seeing a bunch of different things on the internet and people saying that, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. Like it doesn't surprise me. Actually, nothing surprised. I would say nothing surprised me more, but it seems to be very little things surprise me anymore. I can't believe 144 people gave this a thumbs down. That's funny to me. People dislike my videos. I think it's funny because it's like, hey, you sat there and watched it. Appreciate the views, guy. Appreciate the views.
Cities in Southeast Asia.
Oh, look, you remember the last one of our episodes, I think it's the Black History Month. Well, I don't support Black History Month episode. Notice how everything's connected. And I remember in that episode that I talked about how people went out of Africa and went down the path, South Asia and Middle East and stuff, Southeast, Southwest Asia, and their dark skin and stuff like that. And then you have your direct descendants, Africans in tribes in Australia. But they're blonde hair, blue eye with dark skin. Blonde hair, curly blonde hair, rather, with blue eyes and dark skin. But nobody wants to talk about those people because, you know, that makes people think like, oh, that's impossible. Blonde hair only goes with white skin or pale skin. It doesn't. It's a crazy thing, but it's called environment. You know, sun exposure, stuff like that. It has an effect on the physical characteristics of your body. Wild concept yet again. I know, but I'm just saying.
At some period or other in history, as John Stuart Mill pointed out, almost every people now civilized have consisted, in majority, of slaves. When Abraham Lincoln said, "If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong," he was expressing an idea peculiar to Western civilization at that time, and by no means universally accepted throughout Western civilization. What seems almost incomprehensible today is that there was no serious challenge to the moral legitimacy of slavery prior to the 18th century.
Yes.
Christian monasteries in Europe and Buddhist monasteries in Asia both had slaves. Even Thomas
Everybody got slaves. Buddhist people, slaves. Christian slaves. Slaves.
More's fictional ideal society, Utopia, had slaves. Although intellectuals today may condemn
Slaves is just cheap labor. Or in a sense, free labor. Really, what you're gonna get is free labor. And same as your sweatshops now that make our clothes here in the western part of the world, as far as your, Louis Vuitton, your Gucci, your Nike, that's made in Vietnam, Reebok shoes, stuff like that. Which I guess apparently is owned by Adidas. Someone somewhere had said that. I hadn't looked into that yet, but that's cheap labor. In fact, we don't even know these people are actually getting paid, so it could actually be slavery. The clothes that you put on your fucking back, the shoes that you put on your feet, literally can be made through slavery right now. Think about that.
slavery as a historic evil of our society. What was peculiar about Western society was not that it had slaves, like other societies around the world, but that it was the first civilization to turn against slavery.
What? The first civilization to turn against slavery? Western society? Nah, that can't be true.
And that it spent more than a century destroying slavery,
More than a
not
century.
only within Western civilization itself, but also in other countries around the world, over the often bitter and sometimes armed resistance
wow.
of people in other societies. Only the overwhelming military power of Western nations during the age of imperialism made this possible.
What? During imperialism? You mean the colonizers? You know, do people understand what colonization really is? Take a small little nation island, like, I don't know, England. You know, you ever look at a real map and see how small Europe is? But take a small little nation island like England or Ireland, whatever the case may be. Well, you can't do Ireland because there were Irish slaves. Oh, did you know there was Irish slaves? Irish slaves? Wild concept again. So you take a small little island like that, right? Obviously, at some point the population will grow and they will run out of space. Or not even space. They'll run out of resources. So in order to gather more resources, well, they're gonna have to go somewhere else. So they can't go where there's already a so-called civilized established nation. They're gonna go somewhere where these people are not necessarily the same way as far as huge societies, but more or less that they are tribes. So, man, let me take my boat and go down to, I don't know, Africa. I don't know, Ivory Coast of Africa, the west coast of Africa. And see if I could find some people to trade with, because the Spaniards don't want to trade with me, or I did enough trade with them. We need some other stuff. So we go down to the west coast of Africa, the Ivory Coast of Africa, and we go to try to trade. And we trade some guns and ammos. And, oh, guess what? We also trade some slaves. Because we have slaves with us, but we know it. We need a little bit more slaves. Because on our next journey, it's going to be a little bit longer as we cross the Atlantic Ocean. And we need some slaves. But you know what? We can't take that many slaves with us because they're not going to be able to survive this trip. And we're shitty people as well, so we're not really treating the slaves. Obviously, they're slaves. They're prisoners of war. We're treating them less than human. So we got to find a way to justify this treatment. Oh, you know what? It's because they're black. They're a different skin tone than us, and we're superior. So there we go. We made a justification for what we're doing so we can feel good about ourselves. We hop on a ship, we grab these people, we go over the waters, and we're looking for resources. And we're looking for other people to trade with. And as we get to the Caribbean islands, we find out that, oh, wow, there's some other dark people. But hey, you dark people ain't the same as the dark people we just left. Are the ones we got on this boat. And it's like, man, the ones we had didn't really make it the trip because of the way we treated them. We probably shouldn't have been so shitty to them. Our bad. But, now we need to find new ones. So, I got a good business model. How about we just get slaves around here? And then the locals are like, hey, we got some slaves of our own. How about y'all just use these slaves and you give us some of what you got? Okay, so we got a little business contract going. So instead of bringing slaves over from Africa, how about when we go to this new land called America, which the natives call Turtle Island, how about we just enslave the ones here because That's a better business model as opposed to the long voyage of bringing slaves and we can't bring all the slaves we want to, and then we're only bringing a few of them, and we're only bringing males. So if we want to have more production of slaves through the generations, we're not going to bring the females because we need manual labor, so we're bringing the men. But don't worry, we'll enslave the females and the males here in this island that they call Turtle, or this land that they call Turtle Island, and next thing you know, we got slaves. But hey, let's not tell nobody we just enslaved the people here, because that sounds really shitty. I mean, we're already bad people, but we don't want nobody to know that we're really that horrible people. So let's just tell everybody that we took slaves from over there in Africa and we brought them over here. Because we don't want nobody to know that, oh my God, these people are already here. This is their actual land and their descendants have the actual land. If you want to talk about reparations, how about you do reparations where not about tax-paying money? How about you give, I don't know, the land back to the descendants of the slaves, because the slaves didn't all come from Africa. They were enslaved here in the Americas. Because what makes more sense? Putting a whole bunch of people on a boat that wouldn't survive due to mistreatment, due to just the nature of survival of going across a long voyage, or just enslave the ones already there? If that's what you would do, what makes more sense? What makes more business sense? Because that's what it is. This is the business move. People are trying to find resources. So as they're colonizing and imperializing and stuff like that, they're trying to find resources. They're trying to find the best business deals that they can make. And guess what? There's no ethics in business. You got some shady people, you got some decent people, but there's no ethics in business. So when you talk about slave trade around the world and stuff like that, what you're talking about is business, economy, resources. You can say what you want. Of course it's shitty. Like this, any decent human being would say that all this stuff is bad. I'm not trying to justify any of this, obviously. I'm just explaining it to you in the sense of what was really going through these people's minds. And you can say, oh, well, you don't know what was going through these people's minds. Okay, then the same argument go both ways. Crazy.
Slavery did not quietly die out of its own accord. It went down fighting to the bitter end in countries around the world.
Of course.
And it has still not totally died out to this day in parts of the Middle East and Africa.
Oh my God.
It is the image of racial slavery.
That right there. This is from Roots, I believe. This is Kunta Kinte, right? This is what I seen in school. Once again, why would you show me this in school? Indoctrination.
People enslaving black people that has been indelibly burned into the consciousness of both black and white Americans today by the intelligentsia, and not simply as a fact about the past, but as a causal factor used to explain much of the present.
Yes.
And an enduring moral condemnation of the...
This is like the most pathetic thing. This is sad. This is sad. Look at this shit. So sorry. For what, bro? You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. These are probably the most decent people you can ever meet, that they feel so guilty about something that they have nothing to do with, that they're sitting there in chains with shirts saying so sorry. And do you have, like, this girl looks like she's probably in her teenage years? Is this what we want people to do? For them to feel sorry? Why should you feel sorry for something that you have nothing to do with? That's not good, man. In fact, that's kind of messed up, ain't it? Right? That's kind of, you know what? Isn't that kind of mistreating a race based on their? Isn't that right? That's mistreating a group of people based on their skin color. That's almost like it's racism. Huh? That's interesting.
Enslaving race. Yet two crucial facts have been filtered out of this picture. One, the institution of slavery was not based on race.
Oh my God.
Two, whites as well as blacks were enslaved.
What? Did you see that? He said white as well as blacks were enslaved. What? Did you hear that? Did you see that? Did you see that? Did you hear that? Man, what a bombshell.
Word slave is derived from the name of a European people, Slavs, who were enslaved for centuries before the first African was brought in bondage to the Western Hemisphere. It was not...
Yeah, you didn't hear that correctly, so we're going to go back again. I don't think you heard that correctly, so we're going to go back again. And you're going to hear that again.
As well as blacks were enslaved. The very word slave is derived from the name of a European people, Slavs,
Slav.
who were enslaved for centuries before the first African was brought in bondage to the Western Hemisphere.
Enslaved for centuries before the first African was brought into bondage in the Western Hemisphere. Slavs. White people.
It was not only in English that the word for slave derived from the word for Slav. The same was true in various other European languages and in Arabic. For most of the history of slavery, which covers most of the history of the human race, most slaves were not racially different from those who enslaved them. Not only did Europeans enslave Europeans, Asians enslaved other Asians, Africans enslaved other Africans.
Europeans enslaved other Europeans, Africans enslaved other Africans, Asians enslaved other Asians. It's almost like we human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, just find a way to divide ourselves because we just always trying to find someone to conquer because we're so goddamn competitive. We don't know what to do with ourselves. It's almost like, once again, we're just not that evolved yet.
Polynesians enslaved other Polynesians, and the indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere enslaved other indigenous peoples of the West.
Oh, you mean Native Americans enslaved other Native Americans? Almost kind of like what I was just talking about. Wait, what? So if Native Americans enslaved other Native Americans, you don't think they would have, I don't know, sold those Native American slaves to foreigners and made a business deal? Stop it, stop it, stop it. You're making too much sense.
Hemisphere. Moreover, after it became both technologically and economically feasible to transport masses of slaves from one continent to another, that is, to have a whole
right now, for the people on the video version of the podcast, this is probably something you should look up on your own. Thomas Sowell, facts about slavery they don't teach you at school. So definitely look it up on YouTube, wherever the case may be. And if you want to check out the video version of the podcast, I'll have it up on my YouTube and Odyssey channel. But right now, it's showing a picture of almost like a blueprint figure, showing how you can put a whole bunch of slaves in the ship. And you can tell it's at the bottom, obviously, because you can't have them all on top deck. So,
population of slaves,
they're all cramped up. No social distancing there. That's why they'll die too, bro. You've been on a plane. There's a lot of germs going around, so a lot of people ain't necessarily got their immune systems up to par. So a lot of them will die and not make it as they get tossed out into sea. It sounds horrible because it is horrible. And if you pay attention to the race, you're not paying attention to just how messed up the whole situation is. Yet another distraction being brought over our eyes.
A different race, Europeans as well as Africans were enslaved and transported from their native lands to bondage on another continent. Pirates alone transported 1 million Europeans.
So you have Europeans. So you have people enslaving themselves within their own lands. You have people taking people from other lands into slavery. You like people going to other lands and enslaving them there. Like this, human beings are just messed up, man. It's like, oh, I don't like humans, but I understand our potential. But at the same time, I don't like humans, bro. Like, oh my God. We're so shitty.
As slaves to the Barbary coast of North Africa. At least twice as many European slaves as there were African slaves transported to the United States and to the 13 colonies from which it was formed. Moreover, white slaves were still being bought and sold in the Islamic world decades after blacks had been freed in the United States. What marked the modern era of slavery in the West was the fact that, as distinguished historian Daniel Boorstin pointed out, now, for the first time in Western history, the status of slave coincided with the difference of race.
But
to claim that race or racism was the basis of slavery is to cite as a cause something that happened.
This is something I have plenty of discussions with to friends and family members. Like, we talk about slavery. It's not about race. And whether they feel some type of way, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not. Obviously, I'm not sorry. I can't. I'm an asshole. Like I actually care. I mean, I do. But when it comes to talking about information and stuff, I'm like, hey man, you might feel some type of way about what I'm saying, but This is the facts I'm bringing to you. This is me looking at things from a logical standpoint, taking emotions out of it. Slavery wasn't about race. It's about human beings just being shitty. That's all it comes down to. Being greedy, spiteful, egotistical, narcissistic. All these different type of negative things that go along with the human species that we need to evolve and get rid of.
Thousands of years after its supposed effect. As for the legacy of slavery in the world of today, that is something well worth investigating, as distinguished from simply making sweeping assumptions. Too many assumptions that have been made about the effects of slavery on both blacks and whites will not stand up under scrutiny. Back during the era of slavery in the United States, such prominent writers as the French visitor and observer Alexis de Tocqueville, Northern traveler in the antebellum South, Frederick Law Olmsted, and prominent Southern writer Hinton Helper all pointed to striking differences between the North and the South, and attributed the deficiencies of the Southern region to the effects of slavery on the white population of the South. These differences between Northern and Southern whites were not merely perceptions or stereotypes, they were factually demonstrable in areas ranging from literacy rates to rates of unwed motherhood, as well as in attitudes toward work and violence. But attributing these differences to slavery ignored the fact that the ancestors of white Southerners differed in these same ways from the ancestors of white Northerners.
So the ancestors of white Southerners and ancestors of white Northerners were different. It's like people just try to find different ways, or people try to find the differences within each other, splitting hairs.
They both lived in different parts of Britain, and when neither had ever seen a black slave. Does the moral enormity of slavery give it any more decisive causal weight in explaining the situation of blacks today than it did in explaining that of whites in the antebellum South? There is no a priori answer to that question, which must be examined empirically, like many other questions. The fact that so many black families today consist of women with fatherless children has been said by many to be a legacy of slavery. Yet most black children grew up in two-parent families.
You hear that? And right now it's showing a picture of, obviously, a black family, probably from, it's funny because I'm looking, I'm like, you don't even look black. I mean, they look like some Native Americans. And some people are like, oh, they definitely look black. I'm just like, not to me. But, because I've seen other Native Americans look like that. You notice they say Black Americans in that bill because they can't say African American because we have the internet. I can go back and research the documents and see that many Africans came to America when we talk about slavery. A lot of them went to Brazil and other parts of South America. But they won't necessarily teach that in school. European indoctrination propaganda school system that we have in the United States is pretty much what it is, are actually by design to separate, divide, and control all of us. But yeah, you had families in slavery and stuff. You had a father in the home, as far as your black communities goes. So the father or the mother then gets separated from the family. Because it wouldn't, once again, economically speaking, it wouldn't make sense. You will want to have all the power, manual labor that you could, and you will want them to feel close to each other. Because if one is not there, then one of the other family offsprings would try to go look for them, or they'll think differently. But if you indoctrinate one generation and then have that generation indoctrinate the next generation, well, now they're doing the work for you. People always like, they took away black people's history and their language and stuff like that. Or did black people do it to themselves and just stop talking about it? It's not that hard to manipulate some people. I'm sorry to tell you, but sometimes it's black people that sell other black people, because guess what? That's what human beings do. That's what they still do right now. Some of your so-called black liberals or your famous black Democrats, stuff like that, they ain't doing nothing but selling other black people out all the time.
Even under slavery itself, and for generations thereafter. As recently as 1960, 2/3 of black children were still living in two-parent families. A century ago, a slightly higher percentage of blacks were married than were whites. In some
What?
years, a slightly higher percentage of blacks were in the labor force than were whites.
What?
The reasons for changes for the worse in these and other patterns must be sought in our own times. Whatever the
Almost like it's done by design.
reasons for the disintegration of the black family, it escalated to the current disastrous level well over a century after the end of slavery, though less than a generation after a large expansion of the welfare state and its accompanying non-judgmental ideology. To say that slavery will not bear the full weight of responsibility for all subsequent social problems among black Americans is not to say that it had negligible consequences among either blacks or whites, or that its consequences ended when slavery itself ended. But this is only to say that answers to questions about either slavery or race must be sought in facts, not in assumptions or visions, and certainly
Facts. Facts, not half-truths. Facts.
not in attempts to reduce questions of causation to only those which provide moral melodramas and an opportunity for the intelligentsia to be on the side of the angels.
Just playing an ad. Just playing an ad. Damn ads, man. Like, monetization, you gotta give it to them. Get paid for your views.
Just as Western Europeans in post-Roman times benefited from the fact that their ancestors had been conquered by the Romans, with all the brutality and oppression that entailed, blacks in America today have a far higher standard of living than most Africans in Africa as a result of their ancestors being enslaved.
Oh my God, you mean something positive came out of something negative? No, we don't like to acknowledge that. We don't like to acknowledge that something positive can come from something negative. But is that not what you would want? You would want to rise above it. You would want the next generation to be better off. That's exactly what you want. Why would you want reparations for a latter generation when that takes away their own independence? If you have government give them money, that takes away their own independence. In fact, that makes them dependent on the government. And if you become dependent on the government, then all slavery is you being aware that you are enslaved. If you're not aware that you're enslaved, then is it even slavery? Because what's a domestic abusive relationship if the victim being abused doesn't realize that they're a victim? They just are living their life and they say, oh, it's fine. It's not that big a deal. Huh. Interesting.
All the injustices and abuses that entailed. There is no question that both conquest and enslavement were traumatic experiences for those on whom they were inflicted, nor is either morally justified by whatever benefits might come of this to subsequent generations of their offspring. But history cannot be undone, nor does conceiving of races as intertemporal abstractions have any such track record as to make it look like a promising approach to the present or the future.
History cannot be undone. History cannot be undone. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys that, and of course another video plays automatically. But I just wanted to show you guys that video, and obviously always don't take my word for shit. I mean, you probably don't anyways, but do your own research. Figure these things out on your own because you're incredible, you're intelligent, you're an amazing person, and you can figure this stuff out. And you're already thinking this. You're already thinking this. You're not listening to me. Like I said, you're not listening to me because you think what I say is good. You're listening to me because it's what you're already thinking. And you're not looking for confirmation bias. You're just looking for more information. You're just looking for something to help expand your own consciousness that you're trying to push through that wall. Because you got to get past these emotions that you have about certain things, because these emotions that you have about issues, particularly in slavery and race and stuff like that, they're not even your true emotions. It's what's been implanted there. If they can implant false memories, we talked about the Mandela effect They say that's always implanted false memory, so that. So if you can theoretically implant a false memory, can you not theoretically implant a false emotion? How do you know what you're feeling is really based on what you're feeling? And that's the question I had to ask myself when I was in third grade. And I'm watching this, I'm like, why am I feeling this way when I don't actually feel this way? And it's not because I got hit with some new information. It's because I was portrayed a visual image. And that visual image was designed to invoke a certain type of emotion in me as a young so-called black kid, and sitting next to me a so-called white kid. That's what it's all about, man. So when you want to talk about reparations, I don't even, from as far as the argument standpoint, I don't even see how any perspective you take can justify it. You shouldn't get money for some shit you never went through. You shouldn't apologize for something that you never did. You shouldn't take money, a paycheck from other people, hard-earned money. Why would I want to have tax dollars from someone else who goes to work and try to take care of their family be given to me because of my skin color? That's not fair at all. That's not fair at all. There's no way you can justify reparations. So anyone that can say they support reparations, like, you're just being greedy. And I know I'm probably gonna piss a lot of people off, but I mean, shit, when do I not piss people off with some things that I say? It is what it is. Because what I'm saying is just the obvious logical conclusion. In my mindset, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong about all this. But is it about right or wrong, or is it just about opinion? I don't want money from someone who goes to work and I don't. Okay, so here's a perspective. Let's give a little. Use our imagination. That's a nice little scenario, and I know it's a longer episode, but I'll skip through it. Bear with me. So you have a family of 4. You have a mother, father. Say they're both white, right? Correct. Then they have one child that is their own. Then they have another child that's adopted that happens to be black. Now, they support reparations because they feel guilty for what their ancestors did. Now, do these white people know who their ancestors are? No. They probably took one of their little 23andMe or whatever DNA tests and found out that they have Germanic ancestry along with some Polish and along with some Russian. Which means what? Absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. So, as they go through their so-called genealogical ancestry on ancestry.com or whatever, they don't actually have any records or whatnot. They have some stories passed down, but stories are stories. Does anybody actually know? No, I'm sure there's some truth to the stories, but they're also missing, I don't know, because when you talk about ancestry, you're talking about what? Your maternal or paternal bloodline or lineage. What about both? What are you talking about? But they feel bad about reparations, so they go to work, or they feel bad about slavery, so they would go to work, and they support reparations, so they go to work, and they work their ass off, and they try to provide for their families, for their biological child and their adopted child, which they treat both the same, and they love them both the same, and for them there is no biological difference. That is their child, and as they continue to work. And they go into the tax season. They go to sit down and pay their taxes. And that reparation bill that they supported was all in favor of. They come to look at their taxes and they see, wait a minute, they're not getting some of their money back because they meet these tax brackets, qualifications, and stuff like that. They don't make that much. They have a combined income of $75,000 and less, so they don't make that much money. But they're considered middle class, and they go about their day. And they see their tax, their income tax and statements, so that, and then they see that they're not getting back that much money that they did the year before because some of that money is going to reparations. But they don't qualify for that reparations money because they are not black, but yet they have a black child. And I can't believe I'm making this analogy up or this scenario up on the fly, but hey, bear with me. So do they get reparations or not? Because they adopted a black child that they love and care about their own, but they're not black themselves, so do they get reparations or not? And then if that child grows up and gets reparations or gives money set aside for him for reparations when he becomes an adult, is it not just the money that is already given to him from his parents, his adopted white parents? Does any of this even sound like it makes sense? And if you agree with all that, why even go through the whole process of any of this at all? Why take someone else's money to give to someone else? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that not communism? I just thought of that. Is that not communism? Is that not distribution of wealth from one class or one group of people to another group of people to say that everyone is equal? Oh my God. Oh my God, man. Some of y'all probably won't even make it to this far at the end of the podcast. Oh my God, man. I should start off with it. Man, I have to argue. Is that communism? Is that communal? Is that having your economic equalities amongst your racial disparities? Is that what it is? Let me take the wealth from the white people and give it to the black people to make them seem all even, but they're actually, you just making everybody, you're making one group less money, but then again, if those white people aren't rich, then you're making them just poor. Like I said, take the single white kid that's going to college and stuff and then graduates and paying off his student loan debts and stuff. Now you gotta pay even more in taxes that he won't get back because of reparations. Is that fair? How's that equality? That's not even equity. They're just taking someone's paycheck. So can you feel okay with taking someone else's paycheck? Because there's no way around this money other than raising taxes. Or there's no way to obtain this money for reparations other than raising taxes. Hell, there's no way for any of the government to pay for any of this bullshit other than raising taxes. There's no other way for this. Though, in order to fund the federal government, you have to raise taxes. So in order to have all these different things that they want to have in the military and all this other stuff and all these nuclear weapons, we the people pay for this, even though you don't get to see where the money goes. So that's another question too. You have to pay for reparations as a white person. Guess what? You don't even get to figure out or know where your money is going because you think they're going to tell you? They'll tell us where our taxes go now. So you think they're going to tell you where your taxes going when you got to pay reparations as a white person to a black person that you don't even know? What if this person is a pedophile? What if this person is a criminal? What if he got out of jail or prison for 15-year sentence for manslaughter? No, what if he raped a woman? So don't worry, he's black, and his ancestors went through slavery, so he deserves that money. What are we talking about here, man? What are we talking about? How can you even justify this? There's no way you can. I don't care what angle you look at it. Like, and if you feel like you can't justify it, then I don't know what to tell you, man, because you're not using no logic. You're not using no logic because no matter what, you're taking something from someone and giving it to somebody else for no reason. For no practical reason in the present. It's only something in the past that they have nothing to do with. And if you're black and you want to accept money from someone that you're taking food off another person's table, where they can't feed their kids, and you're okay with that, you might need to check yourself, man. Me personally, I can't be okay with that. I don't want your money that you're taking from someone else's mouth, from some child's mouth, to give to me for reparations. I don't want that 40 acres and a mule. I don't need none of that stuff, man. I'll find my own way. I'll rely on myself because I am a strong, independent person. Same as you are a strong, independent person. I don't want to rely on the government. I don't want the government's money because guess what? It's not the government's money. It's we the people who pay taxes, sales tax, property tax, insurance tax, like tax when you want to have the garbage taken out, utilities, all these different taxes out the ass, and let alone income tax. I mean, the government already steals your money. People, I see they talk about Supreme Court denied the appeal to have Trump, the prosecutors to get Trump's taxes or whatever, and be like, aha, this billionaire, you don't want nobody to see his taxes. I, I thought taxes was private, man. Why would I want anyone to see what I make? That's how is that not private, man? That's your information, especially now. That's your digital information. That's private. But don't worry, it's all for sale anyways on the black market. And people are okay with that. People are okay with paying taxes. Why? Why are you okay with having your money being taken and stolen from you? Because you don't pay taxes, they take that shit. They take it, bro. They take your money and then they don't tell you what they do with it. So now they're gonna take your money and give it to black people for reparations, and you don't know what black person is getting that money. Meanwhile, that black person might, I don't know, do whatever with it. Whether they go out and buy drugs, whether they go out and invest it, whether they take those tax reparation money, turn around and invest it into like Bitcoin or some cryptocurrency or some stock or whatever, and become a millionaire. Then what? Now they got more money than you. Man, I can't support reparations. It's not something that I see myself ever getting behind. I think it makes no sense from a logical standpoint. It makes no sense from an emotional standpoint, and from my own perspective, my own opinion. But these opinions are my own, and that's how I see it. I don't want your money, and I don't want your handout, because you, once again, looking down upon me is putting me beneath you. When Joe Biden says minorities and stuff like that cannot access the internet, or no, he's not saying cannot access the internet. He's saying minorities cannot, don't know how to get online to register for vaccinations or for the COVID-19 vaccine or whatever. And even if you want to take the argument that minorities don't have a hard time gaining access to the internet, well, then that means also white people have a hard time getting access to the internet, because that sounds like a economic issue as far as poverty. And I know people don't understand this sometimes, but guess what? There are poor white people in America. I know another crazy concept, but there's a lot of poor white people in America. White people are poor. They're not rich. Not every white person lives in a gated community, which is also something I had to learn as a kid. Because you'll hear black people say certain things, and I'm just like, okay. And then you meet some white people that don't live in a rich neighborhood, and you're like, oh, wait, I thought all white people were rich. When I talk to y'all, this is stuff I remember as a kid. Because I remember hearing these things and thinking, okay. And then I see something different. I'm like, well, if it's not absolute, then it's not the truth. So that means it's just half truth, half lie. In other words, people are just saying shit. That's what it comes down to. So, well, like I said, I cannot support reparations. I cannot something I can get behind. I'm not a supporter of taking people money and giving it to someone else that have nothing to do with anything. I have nothing to do with it. Like, I don't support that. I don't even like taxes. I don't support taxes anyway. So like, I definitely don't want to support reparations. And even if it wasn't taxes, I mean, well, shit. I mean, there's no other way for people to get the money. I mean, like, how will people get the money? It's probably why the White House hasn't said anything about it, because in order to get the money, you have to raise taxes. It's just gonna come out of thin air. Well, I guess they already print money out of thin air anyway. So, but guess what? Then you got hyperinflation, which we're already on a bubble of that anyways. Your U.S. dollar means nothing. It's shitty. So that goes down the drain every single day. So it doesn't. It's just something you can't do, man. It's something that I think is just beyond. Uh, it's just laugh. It's just something I laugh at. It makes no sense to me. And if it makes sense to you from a logical or emotional standpoint, then hey, that's your opinion. It's something I don't agree with. And if you want to attack me for it, go ahead. You want to call me Uncle Tom, Coon, Cracker Lover? Should I say that? I can't say Cracker Lover. I can't say Nigger Lover either. I just said it though. Crazy. But if someone wants to attack me for it, go ahead, attack me. Go ahead, call me all the names in the book or whatever. But sit down and actually think about what is being said. Sit down and actually think about what is being done in this country and around the world, because what's happening in America is also happening in other places around the world. You know, everything happens the same. It just happens at different times, different levels, or different periods in history. But it's something I can't do, and I don't agree with. I can't support reparations, and the fact they want to bring this up in Black History Month. Well, I don't even like Black History Month anyway, so it's all stupid. It's all bullshit to me. And that's just how I feel about it. Once again, I'll be back on tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The live stream of the podcast will be on D Live. I post out to my social media accounts, which you can find on DamienJackson22.com. I will be uploading videos on YouTube and Odyssey. Once again, find me on my website. That's really the best place to find the links to all these, to all my social media accounts, stuff like that. I'm still working on getting t-shirts done and stuff. So if people want to donate or support the channel and the videos and the podcast, what I'm doing, I'd rather you not donate and just buy a shirt. And the shirt would just be little sayings that I say on here, like, hey, that's crazy, or stuff like that. Things that are not necessarily trademark. And I don't know if I want to get into trademarking catchphrases. It's something I don't really like as doing personally, but it'll just be little things like that. And that would be a way if you choose to support me. And I'd rather you support me by getting something out of it. So I'd rather offer something. There's nothing wrong with donation. I talk about it plenty of times. I'm not there. I'm not at that point where I'm okay with that. Where I don't know. I just feel odd about that. Just feel odd. That's just me personally. There's nothing wrong with it. I know other content creators and people, they do it themselves, stuff like that. But for me personally, it's just not something that I want to do quite yet. But yes, definitely be back on tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should be a full week of podcast shows. Once again, check out the videos, stuff like that. If you ever want to find out how to contact me or information, or find the other content that I have, or maybe you don't want to listen to the stream on podcast or the podcast on Podbean or whatever the case may be, check out my blog site, website, whatever, DamienJackson22.com. In the top right of the corner, it says social media links and podcast links. So go ahead and check that out. Be back on tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll upload the podcast immediately after the live stream of the podcast. So until next time,